What's up, everybody? This is Mario, and I'm back with another episode of Talking Endurance and Mastery. And today, what I want to do is I want to share my favorite prayer that I come back to ground me, to help me focus on what I can control and what I can't control, and to help me bounce back from adversity. So I'm going to roll the trailer, and then we're going to get into it. Do you want to complete an endurance event and elevate all areas of your life, but you don't know where to start? Then you're in the right place. Talking Endurance and Mastery is a podcast to help you create a vision and take steps towards your goals and dreams. I'm your coach, Mario Minner. I've completed events like Ironmans and ultramarathons, but I believe the true benefit from endurance events is how they help you become the best version of yourself. Join me as I share stories, lessons, and interview guests to help you apply endurance and mastery principles into every area of your life. Are you ready? Let's go. All right, so this weekend I was back in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was hanging out with one of my clients and one of my friends, Patrick, and we were talking about Endurify. And he has been a huge supporter of the podcast and of the mission behind Endurify since the very beginning of it. And so I was just talking to him about kind of what resonates with him about it, what it means to him. And I was also just asking for some feedback of how could I improve? How could I continue to develop and, enhance the impact of Endurify? And he gave me some really good feedback. And what he talked about was how, to him, Endurify is kind of mental and physical excellence. But it's even more than that because it's kind of bringing together the mind, the body, and the spirit. And one of the things that he felt like I could do a little bit more, which is something that I've been thinking about even myself, is talking more so about my faith. Because, like you've heard on this podcast, I think of endurance more comprehensively. I don't just think about the race. I think about how can endurance help you as a husband, as a father, as a son, as a coworker. But there's a lot of scripture that talks about endurance in your faith and endurance in your faith journey. And that's something that as I continue to grow, I want to talk more about my own faith journey because it is a big part of my life. And faith has always been a big part of my upbringing. I've gone to Catholic schools my whole life. And it's just I in the same way that I want to continue to develop as the best father I could be, the best husband I can be, the best athlete I can be. I want to develop in the same way in my faith and grow in my relationship with God. And that's just something that I really feel like is a big part of who I am. I believe it's a big part of Endurify, and it's something that I want to continue to talk about going forward. So as I was thinking about yesterday and being at Ironman, Wisconsin, and the episode yesterday around DNF, and just the 10% of people who train for months and years and then show up on race day and they just for whatever reason, if it's a medical issue, if it's an injury or something else, are not able to finish. They did not finish. And I talked about how to deal with that adversity and that obstacle. Now, there was some practical advice there of just, remember, do not forget, why you're doing it, who you're doing it for. Do not forget how lucky and grateful you truly are. And do not forget that it's not about the race. It's all about the person you become along the way. But another thing that I always try and come back to in moments of difficulty, in moments of doubt, in moments of adversity, I come back to my absolute favorite prayer, which is the Serenity Prayer. And this is a prayer that was introduced to me by my dad when we were growing up. He was a big part of my faith journey, and my mom as well. And he had us memorize different scripture, and he also had us memorize the Serenity Prayer. And this is a prayer that I come back to time and time again, and it's almost become almost like a life philosophy of mine. And the Serenity Prayer goes like this. So it's, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So it's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard this prayer before, but kind of those three parts of serenity, courage, and wisdom are at the core of it. And so when it comes to, having something not go the way that you want, I think this is the perfect prayer for that situation, because the first thing is to have the serenity to, accept the things you cannot control. I've talked about this in the podcast previously, where leading up to a race or even during a race, you need to stay focused on the things that you can control. And this is as much of a reminder to myself as it is to anybody who's listening to this, because that's, one of the most important things. And that's when things are hard, is when you're starting to focus on all of these different things that are out of your control. So that's the first step, is to just focus on the things that you can control. And then sometimes when you realize that there's things that are in your control, there's a little bit of fear, there's a little bit of doubt, and there's a little bit of uncertainty of taking that next action. And that's where the second part of courage comes in. Get up the next day after adversity and take that next action, whatever that is. And that takes courage. And that courage can come from God, it can come from yourself, it can come from motivation for helping somebody else, but you need to have that courage. And then the final aspect of it is just wisdom. So, we've talked about serenity, we've talked about courage. The last step is just the wisdom to know the difference between the things that you can control and the things that you can't. And this is, like I said, this prayer is something that I actually have an alarm on my phone that goes off multiple times a day to remind me to pray this prayer. And I do that throughout the day just to remind me of those three things: serenity, courage, and wisdom. And as I bring it back to you, like I said, I don't know exactly what you're going through. I don't know if you're going through adversity right now. Maybe you need serenity, maybe you need courage, or maybe you need wisdom. But whatever it is that you're going through, whatever goal that you have, whatever challenge that you have, if it's an endurance challenge, if it's something in your personal or your professional life, I want you to, take the time to go through this prayer. Or if that's not your thing, that's okay. Just think about, how can you have a little bit more serenity in this situation? How can you have a little bit more courage in this situation? And how can you have a little bit more wisdom in this situation? So that is what I have for today. I hope that helps. If you found any sort of value in it, would you please consider leaving a 5-star review? It would be so helpful and would help spread this message. So that's what I have for today. And until next time, I'll talk to y'all later.